results you wanted from this trip? You knew it was going to be a difficult trip. Historically, it's been a tough trip. But what are some of the positives you gained out of it?
You can say historically it's been a bad trip. It was a tough trip, very difficult trip. Obviously, Arizona, top 10 team in the country, as high as number one. They have all the pieces. And then Arizona State has added a couple pieces here late. I mean, they're undefeated in the league, right? Got a road sweep early and able to sweep us in Colorado. And I thought they played outstanding. They had the late addition of Miller, and then their big kid is healthy again. That changes them. So, I thought we did some things very well, specifically the Arizona game, and then some things that were just glaringly bad. We were not good defensively, quite frankly, in any way, shape, or form all weekend. I was just really, really disappointed in how we guarded consistently. Both teams made threes. Arizona State makes 12 threes. I think they're at the bottom of the league in three-point percentage and mades a game. That has to be better. Our transition defense was not what it needs to be. Now, both those teams are racehorse teams. I mean, they can do it in a blink, but I just didn't think we communicated well enough. I didn't think our effort was good enough. And obviously our execution wasn't where it needed to be. Too many turnovers against Arizona State. The Arizona State game specifically, we didn't eliminate losing. Just too many self-inflicted errors, and that's hard to overcome on the road. And then I just thought against Arizona, just too many mistakes on the defensive end. That against a team like that gets compounded. I did think we did some really good things against Arizona on the offensive end. Unfortunately, in the second half, we just kind of stopped making threes, right? In the first half we did, and that's why it was a three-point game. So got to get back to the fundamentals, back to the basics, so to speak. I know it's a cliche, but we have to tighten up some things specifically on the defensive end.
Greg, you had said that it was still kind of a wait and see with K-Bud. Have you kind of gotten some updates with him and kind of what's his status?
Yeah, he's gonna it's gotten better every day, which you would anticipate. I think you made a big jump, it sounds like, from Sunday to Monday, and even another good jump from Monday to today. He won't do anything live today. He's just going to test it out and see where he's at with some non-contact stuff, shooting, some fundamental things, kind of our normal protocol and procedure. And then we'll evaluate, how that feels after practice today, if he can even finish practice. And then he'll get in with Trevor again tomorrow. So I can't say, oh, yeah, he's definitely going to play. I can't say he's definitely not going to play. We're going to just find out a lot more as we go through practice today and tomorrow.
And then last week, you kind of left the will exact kind of thing up, and what's going to be up there?
Yeah, so Will, thanks for asking that. Will is actually going to have a procedure again this week. He met with the doctors and of course, Trevor last week, and just at this point in the season, even if he would get cleared, right, and now he's going to go through the procedure, so he's going to redshirt this year, and he'll be out for the season.
Brandon Carlson, I think it was a season low, 7 points against Arizona. Was that just kind of, were they focused on trying to take him out of the game, and do you expect similar approaches from opposing teams?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody game plans for him, no matter who you play. Some are very effective, some not as effective. It's twofold. Both those teams we played really get after you, and he's got to find his way into the post more often. We don't want to just be jump shooters. Of course, he's a great shooter, but the beauty of his game is on the offensive end, he can just do so many different things, and we got to be able to utilize that better. And we didn't do a good enough job, specifically the Arizona game, getting him involved at the level. Now they're also going to bring it, like they're going to game plan, and I'm not sure there's anything he hasn't seen. We played a ton of minutes with Cable going down and Lawson getting a couple fouls. We really had to overextend him in that first half specifically. I think he played 17 and a half minutes in the first half, which is a lot for a 7-footer. So, but we got to do a better job with him. That's another big area that we just got to keep feeding him the ball in different areas and keep him involved. But he's got to find his way to those spots too, and he's got to work at it and understand, when you're a marked man and you're that guy, it's going to be difficult no matter what. So they did a good job taking some things away, no question about it. I think it opened up some other guys. Ben Carlson got a lot more shots because of it. specifically. And so, that's the beauty of having a good team. I think we have versatility. I think we have depth. And so, depending on how teams are guarding BC, it opens up the game for a lot of other people as well. And we've got to be able to make them pay.
A couple times in the last 3 games, Lawson's picked up 2 early fouls.
Yeah.
I mean, how concerning is that for you? Like, you just say, hey, we need you in there for a physical presence.
Yeah, I thought Lawson played really well against Arizona. It's hard when you get 2 quick. I mean, you got 2 in the first 3-4 minutes, and then Keba plays 3.5 minutes, and then he has his, gets injured. So now you're kind of in catch-up mode a little bit, and you're trying to kind of hide Lawson for that first half. Obviously, we came back with him, but I thought he was great. He should have played more minutes for sure. He had a great vibe going, a good feel, a great mindset going. But you're right. It's we've had a few games now. Keba's picked up some quick fouls. Arizona State, he got 2 quick ones in his first run. Right, Lawson the other night gets 2 quick ones right out of the gate. And of course, there's a lot of things you got to look at. How are you getting fouled? I've clipped all of their fouls out, and how we're getting them, right? And sometimes you're a little overzealous with things. Sometimes you're getting them because you're out of position. Sometimes just you lose discipline, right? So we got to look at those things, and and then we as coaches got to look at it. Are we not calling enough fouls in practice? Because we play a lot live in practice. Like, are we missing that? And we just got out of a staff meeting, and so it was a few minutes late getting here, and that's one of the things we talked about. We still got to play physical and aggressive like we do, but we got to be able to call, the things that because usually if you do it in a game, you're probably doing it in practice. So it's got to be a coaching emphasis as well. But that hurts us, gets you a little bit on the defensive instead of playing super aggressive.
Is Davon playing about as much as you expect him to, or is he still kind of working
It's a great question. He's played 6 games. That stuff I think is just going to work itself out. However, after this weekend, I think we got to talk more because we're still redefining our team now. Anytime you start throwing 1 or 2 new guys into the lineup, sometimes it's seamless, but more so there's a natural kind of role deficit. Sometimes roles change a little bit. And whether it's Davon or somebody else, right? And there can be a trickle-down effect. And, I think we got to redefine some things with Davon along with some other guys. I believe he led our team in shot attempts when you combine the 2 games. I like some of the things he's doing. He's got to tighten some things up. He made a lot more. There were some more mistakes that he made. He watched a lot of film yesterday with our coaches, which was good. So he's still figuring out things in our system and our style, and when to be assertive, when to kind of pull it back, and finding that kind of middle ground. But I thought he made a lot of winning plays against Washington State and Washington, and not quite as many, this past weekend. But there's a process that goes through this thing, and for him, it's still so early. He's 6 games in, and really, in a lot of ways, it's like being 5 games in. Because that first game I almost in some ways don't even count. There's a growing curve that goes along with this. So this is a big week for him, as well as our team, of course.
What was one of your more positive takeaways from this road trip, or is it kind of one of those like onward, we'll move on from that?
Yeah, and I'm not saying this just because we lost. I mean, certainly there were some positives out of Arizona. I didn't take a lot of positives from Arizona State. I just thought we were really mindless in a lot of things that we were doing. That we did some really good things against Arizona, but I don't know. We gotta learn from this stuff. We all got to be able to look in the mirror. I saw a quote the other day, and I'm not sure this equates, but it's like if you're an archer, and when I was 22 and at Mayville State, I taught an archery class, if you can believe that.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So don't do like me, guy. Whatever you do, I forget that little thing you put on your arm. But like when you're an archer and you shoot at a target, and if you miss it, like the target isn't moving, right? It's on you, right? And sometimes it's easy to point. And our team has been united, so there's nothing. But I think my point is, we all got to be able to look in the mirror and say, and take accountability to be better, starting with me, to our coaching staff, and then of course our players. And there was just too much slippage last week. I just saw too much slippage, mainly on the defensive end, but some things on the offensive end as well, where we're just, I feel like, too sticky. You know, we've been a team that is getting right around 20 assists or more a game, and certainly we didn't have close to that this weekend. It just felt like we've been sticky with the ball. So we all got to take a step back. You know, basketball is a humbling game. Sports is humbling. Life is humbling. And you got to be able to take a step back and have perspective and look yourself in the mirror and have some accountability to what's going on and make yourself better, which obviously makes your team better.
You've obviously experienced this at Utah State and other schools where you go on winning streaks and you have success. Yeah. How do you kind of keep guys in check? Do you feel like maybe the 8-game win streak kind of led to maybe misperceived notions of themselves going into this week, or how do you kind of?
Yeah, it's hard to say that. It's a great question because you think about that all the time as a coach. You know, I've said this many times to you guys. Our job, you know, part of my job is to be paranoid without being over the top with that. You're always trying to keep your guys on edge, and you're always trying to keep your guys sharp. I'm not a big lecturer or give the sermon kind of thing. I'm not into that. I treat these guys like men and try to be real in everything that we do. I don't try to make teams to be out like they're the next, you know, like every game's a Super Bowl. But winning on the road is hard. Winning is really, really hard. And we had a great stretch there, right? Late November, December, winning 8 in a row. And sometimes, you know, sometimes there becomes some slippage. And certainly we have to tighten some things up here. Specifically, like I said, specifically on the defensive end. And it's not just one thing. I mean, I talked about transition defense. That was not good against Arizona State or Arizona. And quite frankly, against Washington in the first half was not good. But it's not just that. There's just more to it that we really, really have to tighten up. And a lot of that, I think, will start with communication. This team isn't always the most vocal team. Our big guys communicate well, which is big. Brandon's a good communicator. Lawson's a good communicator. Kaba's a good communicator. But our guards are very, very quiet as a whole, and that has to get better. We have a lot of veteran guys, but they're very, very quiet. And that can be one of the hardest things to teach and coach out of guys. It sounds weird. It's almost easier for young guys to coach out of them because they're young. Mm-hmm. When you're older, you have a lot of years that can have bad habits form, and it can be harder to get that out of them because they've had it for 5 years. Where younger guys are like, just let's go, you know, kind of, right? Like, what else can I do? And they're just slobbering at the mouth, right? Ready to compete. And so we have to, though, and we're gonna do some things that, quite frankly, we haven't had to do much over the years, but we're gonna be doing them today in practice and until we get it figured out.
What are your thoughts on UCLA? Obviously, not the team they've had the last couple of years. They have a familiar face, Stefanovic.
Yeah.
What do you see from them early on? They have a lot of new pieces.
Yeah, so they're very, very young. So Mick Cronin does an unbelievable job. Obviously, his track record, wherever he's been, speaks for itself. And, of course, his time last year at UCLA. And, honestly, last year, if Bona and Clark don't get hurt, I mean, they might win it all. I mean, they were really, really good. But this year, they're young. They're very, very young and have inexperience. I think they're an excellent defensive team. Bona's unbelievable. I mean, that guy, he's unbelievable. What he can do on both ends of the floor, but he's just a complete game changer defensively. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and I don't ever recall seeing a guy with his size, his length, and his strength that can move like he does, and it just allows them to have elite rim protection. They can defend, screen, and roll any which way, and they do. Whether they're sitting in a drop, whether they can switch 1 through 5, whether they're going to trap the ball. But his ability to make up ground when guys are going to the rim, he is flying in there. Whether he blocks it or not, you feel that guy. You got one eye on the rim and you got the other eye. Where's number 3 at, right? And then they have some young guys that are just haven't had a ton of playing experience, but you can see them getting better. So I expect them to be obviously really ready to go, super hungry to compete. And what's one thing, they're always going to have a great competitive spirit about them. And so we obviously got to worry about them and what we do. We haven't had much success against UCLA, but we got to get better. Like, our team has to get better we got exposed with some things this weekend, and we got to get them corrected in a hurry.
Is there any, I mean, this isn't a common thing. You usually get the 2 road, 2 homes type stuff. Is it a different challenge to have a home and then away so quickly, or does that matter?
It's been a very different start to league play. You know, you come back from Christmas and you play the 2 games, and it was a Friday, Sunday, right? So then you're off on Monday, and you have it seems like a super quick turnaround for a Thursday, Saturday. So you practice Tuesday. Now you're of course on Wednesday, but you're hitting the road on Wednesday. So then you come back, and now it kind of feels like another whole different week, because it's like you play Thursday, and then you don't play again until Sunday, but then you're on the road, and then you have another quick turnaround the following week. It's been a very different start from my experience in the Pac-12, but that's reality. You just adapt and adjust. And, you know, I like this format, quite frankly, where you play 1 at home, you're on the road. Come back, and then, of course, you're going back to the old, you know, Pac-12 staple of 2 home, 2 road. But, you know, almost every BCS, almost every Power 5, Mark Harlan doesn't like when I say BCS. He's like, I love when you say that. It's so old school. And he means that jokingly, but seriously, I think, at the same time. But the Power 5. Yeah, well, yeah, so I got to correct myself once I finally figured it out. But most Power 5 conferences, that is how they do it, right? You have 1 home game, 1 road game, and vice versa. And then at some point you have two in a row on the road and 2 in a row at home. And then it just kind of flips. But I don't like Sunday games. That just is what it is. You know, we put our request in for that with the league, and sometimes it's just, you know, TV dictates that. And I think we have 4 Sunday games this year, maybe something like that. Obviously, we had the one with Washington. So, but I think in a way it's easier to adjust to, and gives you a little more time to game plan for that second opponent. And obviously, they get more time to prepare for you.
Is it more just because the Sunday game specifically, just because it ruins the kind of the flow of the week, or?
No, I just like Saturday. First of all, Saturday, I think it helps attendance across the board, whether we're at home or away. It doesn't matter. I just think you get way more people in attendance on Saturdays. And I just think that's the fact, right? The reality of it. I won't get into my philosophy on conference scheduling, because I guess it's the last year in the league anyway, but it'll all change next year. But